Ash Reborn, a time-traveling master's journey. Please like, share and subscribe. Episode 41. Coming, Super Ancient Dragonite, Negotiation. Night falls. Following Bill's operation, the lighthouse emits a sad and lonely growl. Soon after, a huge dragon shadow slowly walks out of the sea. Pokémon, Super Ancient Dragonite. Level, LV72. This is a Dragonite that has crossed the threshold of the champion level, and its strength is comparable to that of a third-level mythical beast. Although it is only common in the field of third-level gods, it is also the strongest Pokémon Ash has seen so far except Ho-Oh. Elite-level Pokémon requires a lot of experience for each level up, not to mention the champion level, and even the third-level gods above it. No wonder the task issued by the system is to let him try to hold out for 5 minutes under the attack of Dragonite. This giant-level guy in front of him should be the first-tier wild Pokémon in Kanto, except for the mythical beast. Then, I have to think of a way to make it agree to my challenge. Ash stared at the Super Ancient Dragonite, with a thoughtful look on his face. Dragonite has a docile personality, and it should be no problem to challenge it without angering it. At this time, Misty and Xiaozhang were staring at the mysterious figure slowly approaching the lighthouse. Could a Pokémon of this size actually exist? It seems that researcher Bill really didn't lie to them. This is indeed very likely a unique Pokémon. As for Bill, he was surprised by the huge size of the mysterious Pokémon while patiently operating the sound wave instrument. He wanted to attract this mysterious Pokémon to come closer and reveal its true face. Everyone, I have something to deal with. At this moment, Ash threw the Pokeball and released the Pidgeot. He turned over and jumped onto the back of the Pidgeot and flew away from the lighthouse. Ash, be careful. This Pidgeot is also abnormally large. Looking at the Pidgeot carrying Ash into the sky, a light flashed in researcher Bill's eyes. On the rock wall on the other side of the lighthouse, the 3 members of Team Rocket looked at the Ancient Dragonite from the side. This time, we must catch this mysterious Pokémon and repay the boss for saving us from the police station again. But I feel a little guilty about using a cannon to attack a Pokémon that sounds so good. James, who was carrying a rocket launcher on his shoulder, said hesitantly. What's there to feel guilty about? We won't stop treating its injuries when it becomes our Pokémon. Hurry up and don't hesitate. Seeing that the Ancient Dragonite was about to pass by, Jessie slapped James on the head. Ouch. It hurts. It hurts. Okay, I know, Jessie. After grinning, James raised the rocket launcher and aimed at the Ancient Dragonite. However, just as he was about to pull the trigger, a gust of wind came and directly swept the trio into the sky. Ah. It's the little devil. What a disgusting feeling. It turned out that Ash, who was riding on Pidgeot, came over in time. He wanted to ask Dragonite for advice, so he couldn't let the rocket trio ****** him off. He ordered Pidgeot to launch a fierce hurricane and directly swept the 3 into the sky, just to prevent these 3 guys from disrupting the situation. Although the attack was a bit heavy, given the rocket trio's physique like an immortal cockroach, it shouldn't be a big problem. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Ancient Dragonite, who came here following the sound, originally thought he could find his companions. Unexpectedly, the sound was only made by a lonely lighthouse. Realizing that it was deceived, it did not get angry, but turned around disappointedly and planned to leave, continuing to wander aimlessly alone. Dragonite, the companion you are looking for, I can give you the answer. Why not stop and talk to me? At this time, a voice called it. Riding on the huge Pidgeot, it flew to the same height as the Ancient Dragonite. Ash initiated a communication request with the Ancient Dragonite. Ash, what are you doing? It's too dangerous there. Misty looked at Ash, who was just a few feet away from the Ancient Dragonite, and shouted anxiously. They knew nothing about the Ancient Dragonite. In this case, it is very dangerous to approach it easily. Although most Pokémon will not actively attack humans, there are also very aggressive Pokémon. The excitement on researcher Bill's face, because of seeing the true appearance of the Ancient Dragonite, became extremely solemn at this moment. Ash's behavior really exceeded his expectations. Damn. This is the rookie trainer recommended by Professor Oak. If something happens here, I really can't explain to him. This little guy is too reckless. However, this seemingly reckless action is exactly what Ash came up with after careful consideration. If he attacks directly, it will definitely anger it. With the strength of a third-level god, it is obviously impossible for Ash to hold on to the Super Ancient Dragonite for 5 minutes and complete the video shooting. Maybe even he will be in danger. It is the right way to greet the Super Ancient Dragonite in advance. Familiar with the original plot, he knows why this Dragonite came. He only needs to cater to its needs to gain its trust. Hearing Ash's words, the Super Ancient Dragonite stopped and looked at Ash standing on the Pidgeot. It was very curious about what kind of answer this human boy could give to the news of its companions that it had been searching for many years. However, we have to make it clear in advance. I only know a little about your companions. If the final verification is wrong, you can't blame me. The Super Ancient Dragonite heard what Ash said and felt that it made sense. After all, it has been searching for so many years. Know the difficulty of this matter. The Ancient Dragonite nodded to Ash, indicating his agreement. This time, Ash exchanged the information he knew with it. The first thing he mentioned was the Dragonite race that had the same appearance as it, but not as exaggerated as it. Then, there were other super large Pokémon in the world that had the same size as it, except for the legendary Pokémon. For example, the information about super large Pokémon such as the ancient Gengar, Alakazam, Jigglypuff, etc. Ash's explanation easily aroused the interest of the Ancient Dragonite, which relieved its loneliness for many years. And the Ancient Dragonite also planned to go to the places he mentioned one by one to check and verify. Ash, is he actually communicating with it? It's worthy of being a rookie trainer from Professor Oak. Seeing this scene, Misty and Xiaozhang were stunned, while Researcher Bill was ecstatic. He raised the Pokémon Pokédex in his hand, turned on the camera function and took a lot of photos of the Ancient Dragonite. Just now, the Ancient Dragonite turned too fast, and he was still immersed in the shock of its amazing size. Thanks to Ash, he finally took many photos from good angles. Episode 42. Misty's reaction, huge points. He told the Ancient Dragonite a story for a long time. Ash could clearly feel the intimacy in its eyes. It was very satisfied with the information Ash gave. Seeing that the atmosphere was set, Ash decisively challenged it. It was a similar exchange of asking for advice. The Ancient Dragonite agreed without thinking. Ash helped it a lot, so this was a reward. Ash signaled Pidgeot to land on the beach. All Pokémon except Pikachu were summoned. This battle of all 6 Pokémon versus the Ancient Dragonite, Ash's Pokémon all adopted high-speed combat methods. The Ancient Dragonite's skills were amazing, and it was possible to lose the ability to fight just by being hit by the aftermath. The strength of the 3rd-level god was so terrifying. Pidgeot relied on the amazing flying speed to attract the attention of Dragonite. The other Pokémon attacked from all directions, staring at the rapidly passing numbers on the system timer. After seeing that Dragonite was teasing his Pokémon in a playful mood, Ash simply gave up commanding and held up the Pokémon Pokédex. Concentrate on filming the battle video. His Pokémon are generally of low level, and it is difficult for their skills to cause effective damage to the Super Ancient Dragonite. It is basically the same as Tickle. Dragonite will occasionally attack Ash's Pokémon with medium-range skills. Test the reaction ability of all Pokémon. 5 minutes passed quickly. Ding! In the battle with the Super Ancient Dragonite, persist for 5 minutes and record it in a short video, and the mission is completed. Reward: 1 top-quality Super Heavy Ball. The heavier the Pokémon, the greater the chance of capturing, 10 W points, and 5 rare candy, LV50 LV.60. The mission is completed and the rewards are distributed in time. Ash's points have accumulated to 14 W. There are still many points to buy system products. Ash decisively called a halt to the battle with the Ancient Dragonite. His Pokémon were already exhausted. The range of ordinary skills would become very exaggerated when used by the Ancient Dragonite. The Pokémons had to go all out every time they tried to dodge. Fortunately, this was in the sea, and Milotic's speed was not slow. After getting a lot of information about the same species from Ash, including information about other super giant Pokémon, the Ancient Dragonite left with satisfaction. Thanks for your hard work, let's go back first. The Pokémons were collected back into the Pokeball. Picked up Pikachu, who was lying on the beach tiredly, and Ash jumped onto Pidgeot's back. Flying back to Bill Lighthouse. 3 extremely complicated looks greeted Ash. Misty and Brock were shocked by the thrilling battle between Ash's Pokémon and the Ancient Dragonite. Bill was curious about how he could communicate with the Ancient Dragonite smoothly, because the Ancient Dragonite turned around and left when he saw them just now. At that time, he called for a long time but there was no response. How come it stopped as soon as Ash opened his mouth? Are all the trainers trained by Professor Oak so powerful? Everyone, wake up, is there something wrong with my face? Ash stretched out his hand and waved it in front of Misty, Xiaozhang and researcher Bill, who were looking dull. Well, you are worthy of being the rookie trainer recommended by Professor Oak. Young man, I admire your courage. Bill quickly gave a thumbs up and praised Ash. Although Ash's behavior just now scared him enough. But the final result was good. At this moment, he even felt that Ash's behavior just now was in line with the fearless spirit of Pokémon researchers to explore the truth. No. It was just luck. Ash was very humble. The benefits have been obtained, there is no need to be too high profile. Regarding the super ancient Dragonite, Bill still wants to dig out more information from Ash. But Ash was not fooled at all. He insisted that he was just talking nonsense with Dragonite just now. Dragonite might be very interested in his performance. He does have a lot of valuable information. But you can't get it for free. And the matter of the super ancient Dragonite is not over yet, and the follow-up is even related to a very important plan of his. Bill, researcher, you see, Ash just experienced a fierce battle and needs to rest. If you have anything to say, let's talk about it tomorrow. Misty interrupted Bill in time when he wanted to continue asking questions. Decisively hold Ash's hand and pull him away directly. Ash, do you know how dangerous the situation was just now? I called you at that time, but you didn't come back. Do you know how worried I am? You. Pulling Ash back to her room, Misty began to criticize Ash with a grievance. As she spoke, she couldn't hold back her tears. Crystal tears slid down her cheeks. Ash's close contact with the super ancient Dragonite, and even the subsequent challenge to it. Thinking back now, she was extremely scared. Misty couldn't imagine how she would deal with it if Ash got into trouble in front of her. Seeing Misty, who is strong-willed and never gives in, is acting like a little woman because of him. Ash was also very touched and felt warm in his heart. For him who was alone in his previous life, this feeling was wonderful. However, he really had no experience in dealing with such a situation. Ash reached out to wipe the tears from Misty's cheeks and smiled bitterly. Okay, I'm not a fool. I will never approach Dragonite without being 100% sure. You are a fool. You are a big fool who dares to do anything for Pokémon. Whoa. Ash's seemingly comforting words made Misty cry even louder. Just when Ash was full of sorrow and didn't know what to do, Misty threw herself into his arms. Reaching out and pounding his chest. You just know how to make me worry. Whoa. Ash hugged Misty and patted her back to comfort her. Ding. Muji Heroine, Misty's intimacy increased from 80% to 90%. Heroine's mission, successfully become a travel partner with Misty and establish a relationship. Reward 100 W points, a top-quality water Pokémon egg. Oh my god, the heroine's mission reward that I haven't seen for a long time has been issued. The sudden huge reward shocked Ash. He called up the system interface with a thought. Points, 114 W. Looking at this amazing number, he was very happy. Episode 43. Confirm the relationship and punish Gary. After a long time, Misty came out of Ash's arms. She let Ash wipe away the tears on her fair face. Misty, I want to tell you something. What is it? I like you, be my girlfriend. After saying this, Ash looked at Misty nervously. He and Misty liked each other, but it was just because of their personalities. Neither of them had ever taken the initiative to confess. It was obviously a bit difficult for Misty, who was always arrogant, to take the initiative to confess. Ash took advantage of this increase in intimacy to express his feelings to Misty directly. Unlike the stupid guy in the original world line, the main reason why Ash and Misty had been dragging for so long was that he lacked experience in love. If it weren't for the incident of the super ancient Dragonite, which pushed him to see clearly how important he was in Misty's heart, he might have to drag for a while. It's okay to be your girlfriend, but you have to promise me that you can't go unless I let you take risks. Misty raised her head proudly with a blushing face, but she was already very happy in her heart. Ash really likes her too. Finally, she didn't let her wait for so long in vain. Although she wanted to agree to Ash immediately, Misty still put on a proud attitude and pulled with Ash. Okay, let's discuss things in life. Take her hand, and Ash smiled like Li Yunlong to evade the question. At the critical moment, you have to listen to him as the head of the family. In this way, Ash and Misty officially confirmed their relationship. Late at night, when there were only 10 minutes left before the system store's product refresh time, Ash paid 60 W points. Get the pinned product Perfect Partner Ring. After wearing it, your partner will have a sisterly relationship and will not feel jealous. At the same time, buy product 4 and 10 ultimate balls. If the target is an ultimate beast, the capture rate is x5. The reason why Ash didn't buy Greninja's Bond Evolution Quick Method as expected, but set it as a new top product, is mainly because of his future happy life. Since he has confirmed his relationship with Misty, he must get this perfect partner ring. Although the mainstream of the Pokemon world is still monogamy, those men with a little ability, most of them are polygamous. Although the alliance law does not encourage it, it does not prohibit it. Even some well-known trainers who are more philanthropic, their wives will help their husbands find other women. But Misty is not an ordinary Stephanie after all, so this perfect partner ring is very necessary. As for the ultimate ball, it is not too expensive anyway, so I bought it and put it in the system space. When I have time in the future, I will go to Alola region in advance, and it will come in handy. Taking out the perfect partner ring from the system space, Ash put it on the ring finger of his right hand. Ding! 5 seconds left before the system store is updated. 5, 3, 1. The system store products have been replaced. Hearing this, Ash decisively called up the store page. Product 1, Pidgeot Perfect Mage Evolution Stone Set, carry it to achieve Perfect Mage Evolution. After evolution, the strength increase is 150% of the normal Mage Pidgeot, price, 700,000 points. Product 2, Qualification Breakthrough Potion, can make the qualifications of Pokemon below Gold level break through 1 level, price, 300,000 points. Product 3, Perfect Miracle Seed, the power of grass-type moves of Pokemon carrying this item is increased by 50%. Price, 150,000 points. Product 4, 10 pieces of top-quality heat-resistant balls, greatly increase the probability of capturing fire-type Pokemon, price, 150,000. Product 5, Pokemon Intimacy Spray, increase the intimacy of any Pokemon by 50%. Price, 800,000. The top product of the previous issue, Greninja Bond Evolution Quick Method, let the host and Greninja instantly synchronize their emotional fluctuations, teach you to perform perfect bond evolution with Greninja in 1 second, value, 880,000 points. As expected of a product list that is updated only once a month. This time, the price of all products is less than 1 million points. At a glance, Ash wanted to buy all the 5 products that were just updated. So much so that the Bond evolution of Greninja Frog was not so attractive in his eyes. But he was short of money. Points balance, 54W. It seems that he has to continue to work hard on the tasks. Get more points. The next morning, Ash and the other two said goodbye to Bill and set off for Vermilion City. Didn't we say that we would talk about it the next day? Bill repeatedly tried to keep Ash. But Ash was determined to leave. It is definitely impossible to tell you about the Ancient Dragonite. He will have to cooperate with it later. Before leaving, Ash used the video phone of Bill's lighthouse to communicate with Professor Oak. First, he asked Professor to arrange for the 3 Squirtless to patrol Pallet Town and take charge of firefighting. This matter will definitely be more effective if it is handed over to Professor Oak, who is highly respected in Pallet Town. It will make the residents of Pallet Town accept the 3 little guys faster. At the same time, he did not forget to take out the Clefairy evolution dance that was previously filmed at Moon and the Super Ancient Dragonite battle recorded last night, and got another fund from Professor Oak. The 2 videos together only cost 300,000 Pokemon coins. It is still a little lower than the high price of 200,000 that Ho-Oh can sell for just photos. This time, Ash asked Professor Oak to transfer 200,000 to him, and the remaining 100,000 to his mother Delia to subsidize the family. Ash, he has really grown up. After hanging up the phone, Professor Oak couldn't help but sigh softly. Traveling is indeed the most suitable way to be a laser-focused trainer. The naughty child and mischievous Ash, who made Delia worry about him before, has also grown up now. Ash, who makes money to subsidize the family, reminds Professor Oak of his grandson Gary, who has a sports car and a girlfriend. The gap is really too obvious. I'm too gentle to Gary. Take back his sports car, reduce his pocket money, and make him travel down to earth. If Ash knew that his filial piety to his mother Delia would make Professor Oak want to punish Gary, he would definitely say enjoy it. After all, Gary was just like a lazy rich second-generation boy in the early days of the trip. Later, he realized his own problems and became a Pokemon researcher. Episode 44. Bullying the Weak, Magician. After the relationship was confirmed, Misty did not hide it. She directly called herself Ash's girlfriend. They used to walk side by side, but now they hold hands. 80% favorability is higher than many couples who have been together for many years, not to mention 90%. Xiao Zheng congratulated the two and still sighed that Ash, who usually spent all his time on Pokémon, had a girlfriend. When would he be able to get rid of being single? On the way to Vermilion City, Ash did not forget to level up the lower-level Pokémon in the team. Charmander, the lowest level at present. There were many levels of wild Pokémon encountered on the road, and they all became experience packs for leveling it. The potions and berries in Ash's backpack were also decreasing rapidly. This also made him more eager to have a Chansey. However, this leveling method of tilting resources on Charmander in the short term also allowed its level to quickly rise from LV15 to LV23 and successfully evolve into Charmeleon. The new moves learned are Dragon Tail, Fire Fung, and Slash. The evolution level is much later than that of ordinary Charmander. This is also what Ash requested when he followed Damien, that scumbag. For various reasons, Charmander has a lot of hidden injuries on his body, which need time to adjust. Ash considered Charmander and postponed its evolution time. The fact also proved that his training method was not wrong. The evolved Charmeleon is far superior to ordinary Charmeleon in color and temperature of tail flame. And in the evening of the day when he arrived in Vermilion City, after some efforts, Charmeleon's level was raised from LV23 to LV26. It is surprising that Pikachu, who only played a few games with the passerby trainer, also successfully crossed the threshold and rose from LV39 to LV40. Its current level is already very high. If it continues to cross the next level threshold, it can be promoted to the quasi-elite level. It is almost the same as many gym leaders' main Pokémon. But since Pikachu reached level 40, Ash obviously found that the experience that passersby trainers and low-level Pokémon in the wild can give it is already very few. It is definitely unrealistic to want to raise Pikachu's strength to the quasi-elite level by leveling up like in the past. Vermilion City Pokémon Center. Ash and the other two came to Nurse Joy, preparing to restore the contest condition for the tired Pokémon. Nurse Joy apologized and said that there were too many Pokémon injured in recent times due to challenging the Vermilion Gym, and the Pokémon Center was already too busy. According to the current queue situation, their Pokémon will have to wait a whole day before the Pokémon can be restored. After all, their Pokémon are just tired, not injured. Many Pokémon sent for treatment are seriously injured, and they obviously need treatment more. Raticate, bye, listening to the miserable Pokémon one after another growl. Without saying anything, Ash called Misty and Xiao Zheng to head straight to the Vermilion Gym. This guy Magishar really didn't hold back. He used his power to bully the rookie trainer. This left a psychological shadow on many rookie trainers, causing them to lose confidence in continuing their journey, and even to become devastated. Watching the three people leaving, Nurse Joy's pretty face was full of worry. Would these three trainers want to challenge the Vermilion Gym? Magishar, the hot-tempered gym leader, never showed mercy to the rookie trainers and especially liked to bully the weak. The key point was that she saw Ash had a Pikachu. Magishar had a Raichu. Chansey, go and get me the Thunderstone that Alliance landed a while ago. Good luck, Chansey nodded and turned to walk towards the storage room. Alas, I hope this Thunderstone won't come in handy. Due to the intimacy bonus of the Joy family, the kind-hearted Nurse Joy decided to give Ash the Evolution Stone when he returned from the battle. Help him defeat the Horse Warrior in Vermilion City. Ash, you must teach that ignorant Horse Warrior a lesson later. On the way to Vermilion City, Misty said with an indignant look. In her opinion, a qualified gym trainer needs to send out Pokémon of different levels according to the strength of the challenger. Assess the command level of the trainer and cultivate the ability of Pokémon. At the same time, help the opponent grow in battle. Especially when the opponent is just a rookie trainer, you must act as a guide and mentor. And this Vermilion City gym leader is completely bullying the weak by using the identity of the gym leader. It's really hard to imagine how such a guy passed the gym leader identity assessment. Xiao Zheng also looked solemn. As a gym leader, he thought of more and more complicated things than Misty. Just now at the Pokémon Center, he saw all the trainers holding their Pokémon partners who were covered in bruises. It can only be said that the Alliance's review of Kanto gym trainers in recent years is too lenient. Well, don't worry, I will. Such gym leaders are not worthy of challengers' respect. Ash nodded, without Misty's words, even if the system does not issue tasks. He will also teach Magishar a lesson. In the gyms in the Kanto region, he is not the only Team Rocket executive who hides his identity. But this guy's unscrupulous behavior is what Ash hates the most. Okay, retaliate for those Pokémon who were seriously injured by him. Misty clenched her fists and waved them excitedly. It was as if she had seen Majishar's stinky face after his Raichu lost to Ash. No one would say anything about normal Pokémon challenges. It is understandable that gym trainers occasionally lose control of the situation and hurt the challenger's Pokémon in fierce battles. But for gym leaders like Majishar, who deliberately injures the opponent's Pokémon and enjoys it, the only choice is to fight violence with violence. Soon, the three of them arrived at the door of the Vermilion gym. As soon as they arrived here, Ash saw a short-haired girl holding a Vulpix that was burned black by electricity and crying while running out of the gym. That pitiful look is really heartbreaking. Ha ha ha. You crying waste, a weakling like you is worthy of challenging our Vermilion gym? A power trip came from behind Stephanie, a gloating laugh. Hearing this, Stephanie cried even more sadly. Holding Vulpix, she staggered away from the Vermilion gym. Episode 45. Raichu's Pikachu, Crush. The door of Vermilion gym opened. Ash and his friends were greeted by a man and a woman, staff members of Vermilion gym. The two wore earrings and looked unruly. Followed them into Vermilion gym. Oh. Who of you three is the challenger? In front of the battlefield, Majishar, who was sitting on a bench, stood up and looked at Ash and his friends. He had a golden hedgehog head and a burly figure. His shirt was open, revealing his well-developed chest and abdominal muscles. His powerful lines looked like he was not easy to mess with. Majishar stretched out his hand to push aside two of his men and walked in front of Ash and his friends. His eyes first fell on Misty, and his eyes lit up. This challenger is so cute. As he said that, Majishar leaned over and tried to hug Misty. Ash's eyes turned cold and he acted quickly. Before Majishar approached Misty, he kicked him in the leg joint, causing him to lose balance directly. Although he was prepared, he was still angered by Majishar's rude behavior. In the original plot, this guy was set as a major in the US Air Force. Majishar's behavior at this moment completely deepened his stereotype of the Western image. Gym leader, please pay attention to your identity, and please be respectful to my girlfriend. Your behavior just now angered me. I heard that you advocate the jungle theory of the survival of the fittest, so let's have a gym battle with me. If you lose, apologize to my daughter Josh, and you have to compensate the medical expenses of those Pokémons who were seriously injured by your malicious intent. Ash aimed at Majishar's leg joints and kicked him to lose balance, grimacing in pain. He retreated several meters and stood up with the help of two men. Misty, who was frightened by Majishar's sudden action just now, saw Ash defending herself like this. She felt warm and relieved in her heart. She couldn't help but cast an admiring look at Ash. If you want to find a boyfriend, you have to find one who can stand up for you and protect you from the wind and rain at this critical moment. Partner, Misty's intimacy increased from 90% to 95%. The system prompt sounded. Ash glanced at Misty in surprise. He happened to meet her loving and fiery eyes. He was also very happy with his girlfriend's admiring eyes. You are a challenger with a strong personality. I admire you very much. But after all, it's just a baby, and so is your Pokémon. Majishar pushed away the two men who supported him and limped to the battle site. When he heard that Ash wanted to decide the outcome in a gym battle, his face once again showed a power trip smile. He admitted that he underestimated Ash. Just now, his on-the-spot reaction and offensiveness were very strong. He was kicked in the joint of his foot before he could react. But Ash's reaction and offensiveness cannot represent his Pokémon battle level. Look at the Pikachu standing on his shoulder, it should be his main Pokémon. That is, the level of being a pet for a delicate little girl. It can't be his Raichu's rival. Baby, I hope your Pokémon battle skills can make me a little more happy. Get ready for battle, Raichu. Majishar glanced at Ash and Pikachu with a little pity. He threw the Pokeball and released Raichu. Raichu, LV40, qualification, purple. The battle adopts the rules of 3v3. The battle ends when all Pokémon lose their combat ability. Baby, if you can't gather 3 Pokémon with combat ability, you can also fight alone. Humph. Be prepared to apologize and repent. After glancing at Majishar coldly, Ash reached out and patted Pikachu on the shoulder. I'll leave it to you, Pikachu. Pikachu. Pikachu nodded confidently, jumped off Ash's shoulder, and ran into the battlefield. He faced off against Raichu, who was much larger than him, without any fear in his eyes. Very good, very spirited, but you can't beat me. Majishar smiled playfully, not taking Ash seriously at all. He was confident that he would not lose a gym battle. In fact, it was true for ordinary challengers. Because he had a criminal record in Unova, he would not use his main Pokémon as the Vermilion gym leader. But this Raichu, although not his main Pokémon, is also the main force of the second team that he has carefully cultivated in recent years. The level and strength are not much worse than the main Pokémon of other gym leaders in Kanto. How can a rookie trainer like Ash, who has just started, handle it? Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Compared to Thunder Shock's power, overestimating yourself, Raichu, we will also use Thunderbolt. Majishar's mouth corners slightly raised, and his tone was extremely disdainful. But in a flash, his raised mouth corners froze. Pikachu and Raichu released Thunder Shock at the same time, and two saffron sparks intersected in the air. What surprised Majishar and his men was that, the moment the two Thunderbolts collided, Pikachu's Thunderbolt quickly defeated Raichu's Thunderbolt. The powerful spark hit Raichu, who was shocked. Thunder, thunder, Raichu was dizzy and swayed. Pikachu, quick attack and Iron Tail. Ash obviously didn't intend to give Majishar time to react. Pikachu turned into a white stream of light and rushed straight to Raichu, hitting it hard in the abdomen. When Raichu staggered backwards, it followed with an Iron Tail and killed Raichu instantly. Thunder, Raichu loses his ability to fight, Pikachu wins. Majishar's female subordinate announced the result in a trembling voice. Looking at the Pikachu who defeated Raichu in the field in a blink of an eye, she felt a little in awe of Ash. Unlike the original plot, which relied on high-speed combat to win the game with difficulty, Pikachu defeated Majishar's Raichu with a powerful electric move and a strong melee, which brought great visual shock to the onlookers. This Pikachu can actually defeat Majishar's Raichu. I'm not dreaming. The two minions obviously doubted their lives. Well done, teach him a lesson. Misty, who was watching the game, waved her fists excitedly and shouted loudly, ignoring Majishar, whose face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Episode 46. Majishar's apology. It seems that I underestimated you. But you still can't get the gym badge from me. Majishar took back Raichu with a gloomy face and took out other Pokeballs. Electrode, show him some color. A white light flashed, and Electrode, which looked like an upside-down Pokeball, appeared in front of Majishar. Pokemon, Electrode, LV40, qualification, purple. Majishar is worthy of being the executive of Team Rocket. The level of the second team Pokemon trained for gym battles is also very high. Electrode, rollout. Pikachu, head on, use Iron Tail. In a certain round of rollout, the power of the move will continue to increase over time. So Ash chose to let Pikachu interrupt it directly. Pikachu, running at high speed, hit Electrode in the rollout contest condition with an Iron Tail. Boom! In the sound of a loud bang, Pikachu retreated a distance, and Electrode's rollout was interrupted while retreating farther than Pikachu. Electrode, charge beam. Pikachu, Thunderbolt. The two issued attack orders almost at the same time. The dazzling electric currents collided fiercely in the field, and Pikachu's Thunderbolt crushed Charge Beam again and hit Electrode. Naughty! Electrode cried out in pain, and his consciousness was blurred. With the addition of Light Ball, the power of Pikachu's electric moves basically doubled. Even though it also has electric type, it was a bit overwhelmed. Electrode, who was severely injured, was knocked away by Pikachu again before he could react to the damage from Thunderbolt. Quick Attack easily defeated Electrode again. Cool, so cool, Pikachu. Misty gave a thumbs up to Pikachu. Looking at Majishar's ugly face, Xiao Gang narrowed his eyes and smiled. This can be regarded as a retaliate for the Pokemon that he has hurt. Electrode, lost the ability to fight. The winner is Pikachu. The female subordinate was completely confused at this moment. Pikachu once again defeated his boss Electrode. This rookie trainer is a bit ridiculous. With a gloomy face, he took back Electrode. At this moment, Majishar no longer had the heart to say harsh words. He was hesitating whether to send out the main Pokemon. Glancing at the monitor in the corner above the gym, he immediately gave up the idea of sending the main Pokemon to fight. It is the Alliance's regulation to install cameras on the battlefield to facilitate the prosecutor's assessment of the gym, although in recent years, the Alliance has rarely sent people to ask about the gym. He still didn't dare to gamble, because it was not worth it. Coming from the Unova region, the leader Giovanni paid a lot of money to bribe the Alliance's top leaders to let him sit in this position. After enjoying the conveniences brought by the status of gym leader, Majishar still has some scruples in his actions. Even if he loses to Ash, he can still deny the bet. If he sends out the main Pokemon in the gym battle, his identity will be foresight by Alliance in the future. Then he will really lose a lot. You know, the images captured by these surveillance cameras will be backed up and uploaded to the Alliance database. It's useless for him to tamper with the surveillance images. Prepare for battle, Magneton. After a fierce ideological struggle, reason prevailed, and Magishar threw the third Pokeball. Magneton, a collection of 3 Magnemites, appears. Pokemon, Magneton, level LV38, qualification, purple. Compared with the first 2 Pokemon, Magneton is lower in level. But it is the most difficult for Pikachu. Steel-type gives Magneton a strong defensive ability while blocking Pikachu's very impressive Iron Tail skill in the first 2 battles. However, after Pikachu fought 2 opponents alone, Ash had many choices in the third battle. Come back first, Pikachu. After calling back Pikachu, Ash threw Bulbasaur's Pokeball, Seed. Bulbasaur, who appeared, stared at the opposite Magneton vigilantly. Bulbasaur and Magneton are 8 levels apart, but they can weaken the power of electric-type moves. With the difference in qualifications, they may have the ability to defeat the strong. Bulbasaur came up and used Razor Leaf to continuously compress Magneton's evasion space. Then he avoided Magneton's tri-attack with speed, and Vine Whip caught it and smashed it to the ground. Boom! Bulbasaur then used Sunny Day to make the sunlight stronger. It turned into a high-speed turret after triggering the Chlorophyll ability. It kept changing its position to attack Magneton. After several consecutive hits of Razor Leaf, Magneton fell to the ground powerlessly and lost its ability to fight. Damn, this Bulbasaur is so fast. Magneton was defeated, and Magishar's mentality was also broken by Bulbasaur's speed. Skills that can't hit are no threat. What's more, even if Magneton's electric skills hit Bulbasaur, they can only cause 1/2 of the usual damage. What are you standing there for? Announce the result of the battle. Magneton loses the ability to fight, Bulbasaur wins, and the winner is the challenger Ash. Ding! Vermilion City Gym Battle Advanced Mode has been completed. Reward 500,000 points, 10 top quality insulation balls. The probability of capturing electric Pokemon increases by 200%. 500,000 points have been received. Pidgeot can be perfectly Mage evolved. Ash was overjoyed when he received the task completion reward prompt. Take it, this is Vermilion City's Thunder Badge. You can leave. The female subordinate came over and handed the badge to Ash, and issued an order to expel him with a cold face. Magishar turned around and was about to leave, without mentioning the bet with Ash. Master Magishar, are you leaving just like that? Where's the apology I want? Ash would not let him go just like that. After hearing Ash's words, Magishar's burly body trembled slightly, suppressing his anger. Ms. Misty, I apologize to you for my behavior just now. My subordinates will pay for the medical expenses of the injured Pokemon. Little brat from Pallet Town, I will remember you. He almost gritted his teeth and shouted out the last sentence. It is obvious that he has a deep affection for Ash's spite. Episode 47. Giovanni's Rage. Boss, do we really have to pay? What do you think? Magishar glanced at the male subordinates around him coldly. Keep an eye on those 3 brats, and when they leave Vermilion City. After he finished speaking, he made a gesture of wiping his neck. Yes. The male and female subordinates nodded excitedly in response. This time, they were stepped on by Ash, and they were also very angry. After leaving the Vermilion gym, Ash and the other 2 went straight to the police station. Ash, where are we going? Let Magishar pay the price. Hey, didn't he admit his mistake and agree to compensate the Pokemon that he seriously injured? Ash shook his head and looked at Misty with a puzzled face. For a guy like him who is so power-tripped to bow his head and apologize so easily, there must be something fishy. Magishar is the executive of Team Rocket after all. He must have other intentions to bow his head to him so neatly. Enter the police station. In the office, Ash reported to Officer Jenny the Pokemon that severely injured rookie challenger in Vermilion Gym and the identity of the suspected member of the evil organization Team Rocket. Ash, can you take responsibility for what you said? Officer Jenny looked at Ash with great solemnity. Of course, I think Officer Jenny can also see that there are not many gym trainers like him who like to bully the weak. But this cannot be used as evidence to identify Mr. Magishar, to convict someone, let alone the Vermilion Gym Master. Officer Jenny's tone was extremely cautious. Hearing this, Ash pointed to the computer in front of her. As a regular gym recognized by the Alliance, the battle site is equipped with monitoring equipment so that the Alliance can monitor the normal progress of the gym battle. Officer Jenny, who was awakened by Ash, immediately operated it. Of course, she knew that the gym had monitoring equipment, but the gym and the police station worked for the Pokémon Alliance, and they would not check the images of the gym battle at ordinary times. And the Alliance rarely sent people to check. Officer Jenny retrieved all the recent surveillance videos of the Vermilion gym, and her eyes swept across several screens. Her face quickly turned ugly. In the video, Majishar played tricks on the trainers who came to challenge him, and even though he was sure to win the battle, he would still seriously injure the opponent's trainer's Pokémon. He often spoke wildly and complained about the Alliance's policies. If that alone was not enough to punish him. However, Officer Jenny found through the video that the girl trainers who challenged the Vermilion gym in the past month had been harassed by Majishar. If Ash had not reacted in time today, Misty would probably have been taken advantage of by that guy. Although there is no evidence of his collusion with Team Rocket, the above evidence is enough to charge him with harassing female trainers. After watching the video, Officer Jenny believed Ash's words. Judging from the pictures taken by the surveillance cameras at the battle site, he had no respect for the Pokémon Alliance. It seems that there is a quirk for specific female groups. That's all, I don't think it's enough. Ash shook his head, borrowed the phone from Officer Jenny, called Professor Oak who was far away in Pallet Town, and told him about this matter. Professor Oak, as a consultant for the Indigo Plateau Pokémon League, would naturally not let it go of the fact that the Vermilion City gym leader might be a member of Team Rocket. He assured Ash that the Alliance would definitely get to the bottom of this matter. Soon, Officer Jenny received a call. After unanimous discussion among the top leaders of the Alliance, it was decided that Officer Jenny would lead the in-depth investigation and research on the Vermilion gym leader Majishar. Once any clues were found, he would be controlled immediately. With permission from the higher-ups, Jenny quickly took action. Although she failed to find out the relationship between Majishar and Team Rocket, she unexpectedly uncovered many crimes he had committed in the Unova region. She compiled a timeline with sufficient evidence. Majishar, who committed serious crimes including molesting a girl and premeditated murder in the Unova region, escaped with his military status. After retiring, he came to the Kanto region to serve as the Vermilion gym leader. The process of becoming the gym leader was unclear. Jenny wanted to investigate further, but soon encountered resistance from within the Alliance. After several setbacks, she turned her attention back to Majishar. All the bad things he had done in the Unova region, including when he came to Kanto to serve as the gym leader, were revealed. If you don't want others to know, don't do it yourself. What's more, Majishar acted so high profile. In the end, he was stripped of his status as the Vermilion gym leader and sentenced to decades in prison. However, during the roundup against him, he easily escaped with several elite-level main Pokémon in his hands. Jenny felt that there must be a traitor who tipped off Majishar before the operation began. Otherwise, he would not have been able to foresee the future and escape easily. Ash was quite emotional about this matter. Professor Oak is indeed a world-renowned Pokémon professor. Even the Pokémon Alliance has to give him face. If he had not put pressure on the Alliance, Officer Jenny would have had a hard time punishing Majishar. Although Majishar escaped, the Vermilion gym, which harbored filth, was temporarily banned. After all, he is the Rocket Team executive and has extraordinary strength. Ash did not expect Officer Jenny to catch him. Even if he was caught, with the Rocket Team's infiltration and corruption of the Pokémon Alliance, he probably wouldn't be able to be locked up for too long. This is the best result now. Professor Oak's name is still useful. It seems that I have to take some research-worthy photos of the old man for free in the future. Just consider it as a way to bring them closer. Ash thought to himself. Because the Vermilion gym was banned, Majishar fled back to the headquarters. The Vermilion City Rocket Division, without an executive, had to lie dormant temporarily to avoid being implicated. Ash's name was also reported to Giovanni. Majishar wanted to start a revenge against Ash immediately, but Giovanni shook his head and rejected it. He was just a rookie trainer who had just started traveling. The main reason why he could foresight the Rocket Team's deployment in Vermilion City was that Majishar was incompetent. As an executive, he couldn't even handle a little kid. Considering that the other party came from Pallet Town, he seemed to be highly regarded by Professor Oak. Giovanni didn't want to cause trouble for this young man. After all, Nijima's god-making plan was about to succeed. As long as they can successfully control the powerful Pokémon, Team Rocket will overthrow the Pokémon Alliance and rule the world in no time. In comparison, these small fights are meaningless. Although Majishar had some complaints, he did not dare to question Giovanni's decision. He could only find another way and ask whether the operation of the Saint Anna should be cancelled directly. This is an operation to snatch passers-by trainer Pokémon to improve the combat power of the organization members. If it is not cancelled, then he will personally board the Saint Anew and trick Ash and others onto the ship. At that time, however, it seems that he saw Majisher's intention and Giovanni decisively terminated the operation. He was even more disappointed with Majisher, who was full of violence. At this time, he was still thinking about personal grudges, and even did not hesitate to hurt the interests of the organization. If he did not have the strength of the elite level, he still needed him to contain the Kanto elite, and he would have thrown him into the river to feed the fish. Episode 48. Calm Seas, Saint N. Ding. World line changes detected. Thanks to your contribution, the crisis of the Saint Anno is resolved. Reward, top-grade mystic water. After carrying it, the power of water-type moves increases by 50%. Vermilion City, Vermilion Gym is embargoed. Ash, who was chatting with Xiao Gang and Misty about the next stop in the Pokémon Center, suddenly received a prompt that the mission was completed. World line changes, the crisis of the Saint Anno is eliminated? Hearing the system's explanation, he quickly reacted. As the Rocket Team executive, Majisher is the absolute power class of the Rocket Team except Giovanni. He is in charge of the Vermilion City Rocket Team branch. In the original plot, the action of the Saint Anno might have been planned by him. Now Majisher is missing to avoid Alliance's pursuit. He definitely dare not come back to Vermilion City. Alliance has been keeping a close eye on Vermilion City recently. There was no leader here, and the hidden Rocket Team members could only hide obediently. No one wanted to offend the Alliance at this time. Ash naturally liked the free mission reward. Ash gave this mystic water directly to Milotic. Milotic was extremely good in defense and endurance, and had a second ability that was not afraid of attribute restraint. The reinforcement of attack ability was beneficial to overall development. That night, Ash and the other two stayed at the Vermilion City Pokémon Center for another night. Unable to withstand Ash's soft and hard persuasion, Misty finally agreed to start living with him. The peaceful night passed in a flash. The next morning, Misty, wearing stereo cartoon pajamas, sat on Ash. It's time to get up, Xiao Zhang has called us several times. Okay, get up right away. Ash rarely enjoyed the wake-up service of a beautiful girl. Misty seemed particularly shy for the first time living together. At this time, Ash did not deliberately tease her. Sometimes, even at Sundra, a personality needs to be smoothed over. After breakfast, the three of them sat together to discuss the next destination city for the trip. The next gym will be in Saffron City. Ash's next gym is the Saffron Gym. Saffron City is the largest and most prosperous city in the entire Kanto region and is even very famous in other regions. There is the famous Sylph Company, the leader of Pokémon World manufacturing technology. Ding. Trigger the gym challenge task. Defeat Saffron City Gym Leader Sabrina and get a badge. Basic challenge, defeat the gym leader, win, and get 200,000 points. Advanced challenge, defeat all of Sabrina's Pokémon and all 3 Pokémon retain their combat capabilities, and get 500,000 points. Perfect challenge, defeat Sabrina and help her recover, and get 800,000 points. Rare Candy, LV40-50, level X5, Sabrina's intimacy increased by 80%. Just after proposing the next challenge to the gym, the mission came. Help Sabrina return to normal. This perfect challenge is a little different from the previous ones. But he likes the mission reward very much. 80 W points are enough for him to buy a lot of goods, and Rare Candy can also continue to raise Pikachu's level, allowing it to reach the threshold of the elite level at a faster speed. As for the other reward, Sabrina's favorability improvement. Ash can only say that the more missions like this from the beautiful gym leader, the better. After thinking about it, he decisively accepted the perfect challenge. Ash, before going to Saffron City, can we go to Resort Blue Polchi City to relax? Misty raised her hand and suggested. Ash seemed to know that Misty would say this, and smiled mysteriously. He took out 3S.S tickets for the Saint Anno from his pocket. Have you booked this? The SS ticket for the Saint and is very expensive. Surprised, Misty began to feel sorry for Ash's wallet. She didn't have much money for the trip, and Ash's family wasn't that well off either. She had sent some money home a while ago, and Xiao Zhang's money was all used to improve the team's food. Is it too extravagant to buy a SS ticket for a luxury cruise ship? Ash shook his head. Since it's a trip, how can we miss a famous tourist destination like Ramperchi? We've been camping for so long, it's okay to enjoy it once. The ticket for the Saint and is very expensive, but Ash can still afford it if it's just to Ramperchi. It's been less than a month since we traveled, and my ability to make money is still worthy of recognition. Misty, as my girlfriend, I will cover all your living expenses in the future. Ash's sudden love words. Misty blushed, but because of Xiaozhang who was watching the fun, she couldn't get angry. Then I'm lucky enough to be with you this time. Ash, thank you. Xiaozhang looked at Ash and Misty with a teasing look. After buying the daily necessities for the trip, Ash and the other two boarded the Saint Anus and set off. The next stop is the city of Lampolki. Since Ash and the other two had eaten a lot at the dock, they were not hungry at this time, so they did not eat in the restaurant. They came to the bow and stood on the deck to look out at the endless blue sea. Fish Pokemon jumped out of the water from time to time. It's worthy of being a luxury cruise ship. This feels great. With a long sigh of relief, Misty took out the fishing rod from her backpack. Ash, Xiaozhang, let's compete to see who is better at fishing. Okay, I just have nothing to do. Come on. Unlike Misty who carried a fishing rod with her, Ash and Xiaozhang borrowed 2 fishing rods from the staff and started fishing. At this moment, his -20% bite rate debuff began to take effect. Misty and Brock both started continuous fishing mode. They caught one water Pokemon after another. Although they were all common Pokemon such as Tentacle and Magikarp, they were much better than Ash who caught only one Magikarp after half a day. It can only be said that he paid a lot of price to capture Feeba. Brock was not very willing to capture water Pokemon, and Misty looked down on Pokemon with ordinary potential and appearance. Most of the Pokemon caught were released by the two of them. It can only be said that after being with Ash, she was also influenced by him in a subtle way, and she was very cautious in choosing Pokemon to capture. And her and Brock's spendthrift behavior of releasing dozens of Pokemon in a row also attracted the attention of interested people. Hey, kids, if you don't want the Pokemon you caught, you can sell them to me. I can definitely give you a good price. A fishmonger in plain clothes came over to chat with him. Ash looked him up and down for a moment. Could this uncle be the one who sold James a Magikarp for 30,000 yuan? Sorry, uncle, we are not going to sell Pokemon. Misty and Xiaozhang rejected the uncle one after another. As gym trainers, they would not do anything against their conscience even if they were short of money. Selling wild Pokemon or something? That's what the notorious Pokemon hunters do. Episode 49. Winning streak mission, huge bonus. Ha, why don't you think about it again? The price I offer is definitely the highest among my peers. Besides, you don't want these Pokemon, so isn't it a waste to put them back into the sea? The middle-aged uncle seemed to be unwilling to give up. Ash glanced at him coldly. Uncle, don't you understand? I have to remind you that it is illegal to buy and sell wild Pokemon privately. If Officer Jenny knows about this. Hey. No, kid, I'm just joking, don't take it to heart, I'm leaving now. The middle-aged uncle's face froze, he laughed and turned away. He cursed Ash and the others in his heart for not knowing how to appreciate him. They don't make money, but pretend to be self-righteous. Ash shook his head. This kind of person completely treats Pokemon as a tool to make money. It's really hateful. After fishing for an afternoon, Ash had the worst luck. The number of Pokemon biting the hook did not exceed 10 times. Misty and Xiaozhang both admired Ash's bad luck. You know, there are many more water Pokemon in the sea than in rivers and lakes. Ash didn't care much about this. Although Misty and Xiaozhang caught a lot of Pokemon, none of them had potential. In comparison, Flash Feeba is definitely a rare sight. As the sky gradually darkened, Ash and his group came to the restaurant for dinner. At this time, the restaurants on both sides were full of people, and in the middle was a battle area separated by staff. From time to time, a trainer would go to the ring to fight Pokemon. There are many wealthy people on this luxury cruise ship. A white-haired old man who likes to watch the fun issued a bounty. Whoever can win 100 games in a row in the ring can break through his bounty pool and get a bonus of 2 million Pokemon coins. If no one wins 100 games in a row before arriving at the next target city, the prize will be awarded according to the level of 50 wins, 20 wins, and 10 wins. As soon as this was said, many Pokemon trainers at the scene showed interested expressions. 2 million bonus is a huge sum of money. You can buy a purple Charizard on the black market. That's the final form of the 3-starter Pokemon. Ding. Trigger system task, get the bonus from the rich man's bounty and achieve 100 consecutive wins. Task reward, Pokémon Charm Enhancement Potion. After use, it can make Pokémon's attraction to the same race and opposite S**x full. Points, 200,000. Ash, who was not very interested in the passerby trainer on the St. Anew, suddenly became excited. It's shameful and boring to bully noobs, but the rewards are too much. And this time, it's not just a system reward. If he can get the 2 million bonus from the rich man, he won't have to get gold coins from Professor Oak for a long time. The old man gave him a big surprise last time. Ash thought he had to sell him a little favor. Let him remember his kindness, which can be useful at a critical moment. Thinking of this, Ash stood up directly. Misty, Xiaozhang, take your time eating. I'm going to have a fight. Let's go together. I'm full too. Misty finished her food in a few bites, wiped her lips with a napkin, got up and followed. Xiaozhang sat where he was, slowly savoring the food. Obviously, he didn't want to disturb Ash and Misty's world of two. Come to the ring. By asking the staff on the ship, Ash learned that the initiator of the bounty ring was an executive of Sylph Company. Hideki is rich and loves to watch Pokémon battles. This ring is non-profit. The prize money is also paid entirely by the initiator. In the field, a Mankey and a Poliwag finally had a stalemate. Poliwag won with a slight level advantage. Its trainer successfully won 3 consecutive victories. Mankey trainer walked off the ring sadly. Ash took over and challenged Poliwag trainer. The opponent nodded confidently in agreement. Then Ash patted Pikachu to signal it to fight. Pokemon, Poliwag, level LV21, qualification, blue. Under the condition of attribute restraint, Pikachu's level is almost 20 levels higher than Poliwag. The referee asked the opponent if he needed to change Pokemon, and he insisted on Poliwag. Ash was not polite to him. Command Pikachu to send it away easily with a Thunder Shock. It was easy to win the first victory. In battles with a large level gap, Ash usually holds back. The opponent's Poliwag was not seriously injured. Poliwag's trainer obviously saw this. After taking back Poliwag, he nodded slightly and expressed his gratitude to Ash. Your Pikachu is very strong, thank you for your mercy. Ash nodded in response. After Poliwag's trainer stepped down, a male trainer with outstanding appearance and slightly older than Ash walked up to the stage. The Pokémon he sent out was none other than Charmeleon from the 3 Pokémons. Judging from his attire, he should be from a wealthy family. He was able to get Charmander as the Earl Dervish Pokémon in Alliance, so he was quite capable. After all, in terms of popularity in the Kanto region, the handsome Charizard, whose final evolution can fly into the sky, is far more popular than the other 2 Pokémons from the 3 Pokémons. When asked if he needed to change Pokémon, Ash decisively called back Pikachu and sent Charmeleon to fight. When the 2 Charmeleons competed on the same stage, the difference was extremely obvious. Regardless of size, color, or the size of the flame on the tail, or the fighting spirit in his eyes, Ash's Charmeleon was far superior to the other one. And this civil war was also a one-sided crushing trend. The power of the fire-type moves was not as strong as the other one, and the close combat was even suppressed. Charmeleon is so strong, if anyone can get a 2 million yuan bonus, that person may only be you. The rich man looked at Ash deeply, took back Charmeleon and walked off the stage. He thought highly of Ash. The trainer who could train such a powerful Charmeleon must be very good. Episode 50. Winning streak reward, get it. It's my turn. A plain-looking but youthful girl walked onto the stage to challenge. The Pokémon she used was a Psychic-type Sun Pokémon from the EV family. A rare Psychic-type Pokémon, plus the opponent's command level was pretty good. Ash was interested in playing with her for a while longer. During the battle, he also pointed out the mistakes in the girl's command. The flames, the psychic fluctuations were raging. The audience was very satisfied and waved and cheered. Seeing that Charmeleon had fully adapted to the opponent's psychic strength, Ash commanded it to end the battle. Thank you for your advice. During the battle, the girl could clearly feel the gap between herself and Ash. With Ash's enthusiastic guidance, she felt like she was challenging a gym, and the whole battle was relatively easy. This battle also made her gain a lot. Although she lost, she also learned a lot. Ash quickly won 10 consecutive victories, and Charmeleon's outstanding performance also attracted the attention of many trainers on the ship. More and more trainers challenged him. There are still 90 games to complete the winning streak. Ash wanted to let Charmeleon rest for a while and rotate with other Pokémon, but found that it was still full of energy. There was no intention of resting at all. The rivals who won 10 consecutive games were too weak, and there were not many who could cause it a little trouble. Charmeleon, who basically didn't play at full strength, was still very energetic at the moment. Seeing this, Ash also planned to let Charmeleon give it a try. It can still rely on these trainers to level up at a lower level. Charmeleon was very powerful and won several reverse attribute battles in a row, and showed fatigue only after the 30th victory. Ash then replaced other Pokémon to fight. The trainers on this ship were too weak, and there were only 2 or 3 trainers who could pose a slight threat to him later. His winning streak began to rise rapidly. 50 consecutive wins. 70 consecutive wins. 85 consecutive wins. By the time the 99th win was won, the audience was completely numb. The Sylph Company executive who issued the bounty had even told his assistant secretary to prepare to transfer money to Ash. "Little brother, I want to use my Raticate to have a Pokémon battle with you, please give me some advice." At this time, the challenger for the 100th game appeared. A tall and thin man with a charming female companion, a gentleman's suit, and a black hat walked onto the stage. There was also a Raticate beside him. Looking at the man, Ash frowned slightly. But considering that the other party was a challenger, he didn't say much. In the original plot, this guy used Raticate to fight against the stupid Butterfree. When he saw that he was about to lose, he deliberately stopped the game, looking like he couldn't afford to lose. In addition, he coaxed Ash to exchange his Butterfree with his own Raticate. At that time, Ash also asked for the opinion of Topsy-Turvy, who was fascinated by his partner. In the end, the two exchanged Pokémon. But after the exchange, the silly thing remembered Butterfree's kindness and exchanged it back. Ash couldn't understand the silly thing's brain hemorrhage operation at all. This kind of exchange can easily cause Pokémon to lose trust in their owners, and the intimacy of Pokémon with a bad temper will plummet. This also made Ash feel that under the silly thing's operation, even if Butterfree did not leave the team for courtship, he would leave for other reasons. Shaking his head and suppressing the chaotic thoughts, he would definitely not do such a bad thing as exchanging Pokémon now. Pokémon, Raticate, level, LV27, qualification, blue. A blue qualification Pokémon of a standard passerby trainer. But this Raticate is well cultivated. The body color, fur, and body shape can be regarded as a strong one among the same species. No wonder he was favored by the tall and thin gentleman. After all, with the money of the tall and thin gentleman, it is definitely not a problem to buy a few rare Pokémon. In the case of the overall reputation of the race, the fact that this Raticate was selected can also prove its strength. This also makes Ash look forward to this last battle. As the final battle of the 100-game winning streak, he naturally hopes to show a wonderful battle to the rich man who offered the bounty and all the spectators on the ship. But the opponent still disappointed Ash. Pokémon is strong, but it does not mean that the trainer is strong. What's more, a third-rate trainer like the tall and thin gentleman who only spends money to train Pokémon. His stupid command made Raticate unable to play its due strength. Ash estimated that it was slightly inferior to the other rookie trainers who just set out from Pallet Town. However, he should have thought that with the pampered appearance of the tall and thin gentleman, it is impossible for him to spend a lot of energy on studying Pokémon battles. Just when he was about to lose, the tall and thin gentleman still wanted to use the same trick to forcibly interrupt the game and force the game that was about to be lost to be a draw. This time, Ash didn't tolerate him at all. Charmeleon used a dragon tail to directly whip its Raticate to the bottom of the ring and lost its ability to fight. The smile on the tall and thin gentleman's face froze, and he stood on the ring with a wandering look, wanting to say something but stopping. The 100 consecutive wins required by the task were achieved. Ding! System task completed. Get the bonus from the rich man's bounty and achieve 100 consecutive wins. Reward, Pokémon Charm Enhancement Potion. After use, Pokémon can be fully attracted to the opposite S*X of the same race. Points, 20W. Points balance, 124W. Double happiness. Excluding the charm potion and points rewarded by the task. The Pokémon that have fought have also accumulated a lot of combat experience. Especially Charmeleon, it has the most appearances. Charmeleon from LV26 to LV30, Squirtle from LV28 to LV29, Milotic from LV31 to LV32, Butterfree from LV25 to LV27. Among them, Milotic, who had the highest level, had accumulated nearly half of the experience points before this battle, and barely upgraded to a higher level. Except Charmeleon, the overall level of the other Pokémon did not increase much. It can only be said that bullying is still a little lacking. Only by challenging Pokémon of similar or higher levels can you quickly increase your level. The 2 million Pokémon coins from the rich man were directly deposited into the Alliance account registered by Ash Pokémon Pokédex. After receiving this huge sum of money, Ash also lost the fun of continuing to fight with the noobs. He rejected several trainers who challenged him one after another. Several of the Pokémon levels were not even LV20, still in the rookie stage. The experience gained from fighting them is minimal, and it is not as fast as finding a wild Pokémon group to level up. Ash squeezed out of the crowd and joined Misty, who was watching the battle.